Hi, everyone. Welcome to Interactive Brokers Midweek Look at the Markets. I'm Jeff Praisman. It's my pleasure to welcome back to our podcast Scott Bauer, the CEO of Prosper Trading Academy. Hey, Scott, how are you?
Jeff, I am great. How about you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. And we're just coming off another holiday shortened week, which is always good to have that extra day off.
Seems like we've had a lot of them recently.
I know it's the season, right? With summer, you've kind of hit those spots where we
Yep,
have, I think, four of them. And I'm never going to complain about a day off. But as usual, though,
for sure.
even with the day off, there's no shortage of news. But it always seems to keep coming down to one word: tariffs.
Yeah.
How has the market been reacting, and where do you think it's heading over the next few days?
I mean, all we need to do is just look at the headlines, right? Look at the end of last week when the announcement came out about 50% on Europe. The market didn't like it going into the long weekend. The market was on a negative note, and then the news changed over the weekend that was going to be extended out, and we've seen the market back on rally mode a little bit here. It's really difficult to kind of predict where the market, in my estimation, is going based on this news flow. I mean, I've been cautiously optimistic, and I think with where volatility has come so quickly from where it was 4 weeks ago, 6 weeks ago, to me, especially if you want to stay long in this market or you want to stay somewhat bullish in this market, it would be really prudent to buy some volatility, buy some cheap protection.
I was saying that kind of leads me into my next question. Talking about the VIX, it's been as high as almost 26. It's dipped slightly under 18. This is just in the last 4 or 5 trading days.
Yep.
Looks like it's hovering around 19 right now. It sounds like you think it may be heading possibly a little bit higher over the next few days. It might be a good idea to buy a little bit.
Yeah, it's not so much that maybe I believe it's going back to 25 or 30 or higher, but I just think that the environment we're in right now, that the VIX kind of has this floor to it just because of the news cycle. Even though, earnings are finished here or almost finished, the news cycle's not going away, right? That magic word tariff is not going away. And I think in some regards, just that overhang right there is going to keep the VIX elevated. Now, if we looked at the VIX historically and we'd look at it at 19 right now, we'd say, boy, that's expensive historically, right? But for this period of time right here, I think it's prudent to actually have it a little bit if you're going to remain in the market.
And as you said, earnings season's pretty much winding down. The results have actually been pretty positive overall, and
Yeah.
I think better than people maybe expected throughout the market. But there's also a noticeable lack of future forecasting by several companies like Ford and Delta, who aren't even, these are big companies, they're not even sharing financial outlooks for the upcoming year. Do you think the market's just adapting to this new normal?
There's no question about it. And we see the ebbs and flows and we see that happen. It's almost psychological, right? When the first news flow hits, something that is new, the market gets unnerved a little bit. And then the more that happens, we become a little bit desensitized to that news flow. And I think that's exactly what is happening here. Now, that doesn't remove any potential threat or any sort of shock that may happen. But I think it's normal that we do become more accustomed to it, which I think when you think about it that way makes it even more prudent to maybe have a little protection in the marketplace.
And our final question, it's Wednesday, May 28th. Any big market or economic events on the horizon that our listeners should pay attention to?
Well, besides NVIDIA earnings and a couple other big ones, we have Fed minutes, and we certainly have at the end of this week some really big, important inflation data. And that could really, set this market up for a next move, one direction or the other. If we see that inflation still is maybe ebbing a little bit because there's a lot of talk, there's a lot of thought out there that if the tariffs do come to light and maybe the new tax bill, that we could see inflation actually rising a little bit. So the PCE numbers we're going to get, I think, are going to be very, very significant.
Scott, thanks again for swinging by the studio. For our listeners, you can find more from Scott and our other contributors on our website under IBKR.com under education, as well as going to prospertrading.com for more from Scott as well. Thanks, Scott. Until next time.
Really appreciate it, Jeff.
Our pleasure.
The analysis in this material is provided for information only and is not and should not be construed as an offer to sell or the solicitation of an offer to buy any security.